Have you ever risked everything on a dare that could cost you your job, your stability, and the future you've built for your child? That's exactly what happened to Mark Winters, and what came next changed the course of his entire life. If this story resonates with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to see more real stories about ordinary people facing extraordinary moments that transform their lives forever. Mark stared at his phone, the text message from his brother glowing accusingly in the darkness of his kitchen. Just ask her out already. I dare you. 3 years as a widower had left Mark's social life in shambles, his entire existence revolving around his 7-year-old daughter Emma and his job at Horizon Publishing. His boss, Sophia Chen, had always been strictly professional, brilliant, demanding, and completely off limits. The dare sat heavy in his stomach like a stone. He couldn't. He wouldn't. He had too much to lose. The morning light filtered through the blinds as Mark helped Emma get ready for school. Her small fingers struggled with the buttons of her uniform shirt, and he knelt down to help her. "Daddy, are you going to be late again tonight?" Her voice was small but accusing. The publishing deadline for their newest author was approaching, and Mark had been putting in extra hours, leaving Emma with her grandmother more often than he liked. The guilt was a constant companion these days. "I'll try to be home for dinner, sweetheart, I promise." He kissed her forehead, knowing full well that Sophia had scheduled a late meeting to review the final manuscript changes. His brother's dare echoed in his mind, as if someone like Sophia would ever look twice at a struggling single dad with perpetual dark circles under his eyes and a mortgage that kept him up at night. The Horizon Publishing office buzzed with the usual Monday morning energy. Mark settled at his desk, arranging the manuscript notes for the meeting later. Sophia's office door was closed, the frosted glass revealing only her silhouette as she paced, phone pressed to her ear. Even from a distance, he could tell she was tense. The quarterly numbers had been disappointing, and the pressure from the parent company was mounting. "She's on the warpath today," whispered Tina from the neighboring desk. "The board meeting didn't go well. I'd stay clear if I were you." Mark nodded, but his eyes lingered on Sophia's door. In the 3 years he'd worked as her editorial assistant, he'd seen her weather countless storms with grace and determination. There was something about her resilience that had always drawn him to her, even before his wife's passing. It wasn't just that Sophia was beautiful, though she undeniably was. With her sharp intelligence reflected in dark eyes that missed nothing, it was her unwavering belief in the books they published and the authors they supported. The day dragged on, each hour bringing Mark closer to the evening meeting and further from his promise to Emma. At 4 o'clock, his phone buzzed with another text from his brother. "Did you do it yet? Don't be a coward." Mark shoved the phone into his drawer. He had a child to consider, a job to protect. Office romances were explicitly discouraged in the company handbook, and relationships between managers and their direct reports were strictly forbidden. At 6:30, most of the office had cleared out. Mark sat alone in the conference room, arranging copies of the manuscript for the meeting. The door opened, and Sophia walked in, her usual confident stride replaced by something heavier, more burdened. She looked surprised to see him already there. "Mark, you're early." She set down her laptop and coffee mug, avoiding his eyes. "I thought I'd get everything ready." He gestured to the organized stacks of paper. "Are you okay? You seem..." "I'm fine." Her tone made it clear the subject was closed. She took a seat at the head of the table, opening her laptop with more force than necessary. The others should be here soon. But minutes ticked by, and no one else arrived. Sophia checked her phone, frowning. "That's strange, I could have sworn I scheduled this with the whole team." Mark's phone pinged with an email notification. "It looks like Jen and David are saying the meeting was moved to tomorrow morning. Did you change it?" Sophia's frown deepened. "No, I didn't." She scrolled through her own emails, then sighed heavily. "There's been a mix-up. The calendar invitation was updated, but I never authorized it." She closed her eyes briefly, and for a moment, Mark caught a glimpse of the exhaustion she usually hid so well. "We can still review the changes," he offered. "I've gone through most of them already." She looked at him then, really looked at him, and something in her expression shifted. "You should go home to Emma. I know you've been working late all week." The fact that she remembered his daughter's name, that she'd been paying attention to his hours, caught him off guard. "She's with my mother tonight. I told her I'd be working late." Sophia nodded slowly, then closed her laptop. "Actually, I could use some air. And dinner. I haven't eaten since breakfast." She hesitated, then added, "Would you like to join me?" "To discuss the manuscript, of course." Mark's heart hammered against his ribs. This wasn't a date, this was work. But his brother's dare flashed in his mind, and before he could think better of it, he heard himself say, "I'd like that." They ended up at a small Italian restaurant 2 blocks from the office, tucked into a corner booth away from the windows. Sophia ordered a glass of wine, and after a moment's hesitation, Mark did the same. The manuscript sat untouched between them. "How's Emma doing in school?" Sophia asked, surprising him again. "You mentioned she was struggling with math." "She's doing better. We've been practicing her multiplication tables every night." Mark couldn't hide his surprise. "I didn't realize." "You remembered that." Sophia's smile was small but genuine. "I listen when my team talks, Mark, especially when it's about their children." She took a sip of her wine. "My father raised me alone after my mother died. I was 9. It's not an easy road." The revelation stunned him. In 3 years, Sophia had never shared anything personal. The professional barrier between them had always seemed impenetrable. "No, it's not easy," he agreed softly. "Emma still asks about her mother sometimes. I never know quite what to say. You tell her the truth in ways she can understand. That's all anyone can do." Sophia's eyes held his, and for the first time, Mark saw vulnerability there. "The board wants to restructure the company. Cut our literary fiction line, focus on commercial titles with guaranteed returns. But that's your passion project. The literary line is what put Horizon on the map. It's not profitable enough for them." Her fingers tightened around the stem of her wineglass. "I've been fighting it all day. That's why I was distracted." Mark leaned forward. "Those books matter. They changed lives. They changed mine." "Which one?" she asked, curiosity lighting her eyes. "The Silent Hours. I read it right after Sarah died. It was the first thing that made me feel less alone." He hadn't meant to share that, hadn't spoken about it to anyone. Sophia's expression softened. "I fought for that book. The board thought it was too quiet, too introspective, but I knew readers needed it." She reached across the table, her fingers briefly touching his. "That's why I do this job, Mark, for moments like this." The conversation flowed easily after that, moving from books to music to Emma's latest art project that hung proudly on Mark's refrigerator. The manuscript remained untouched, the pretense of a work dinner long abandoned. When Sophia laughed at something he said, a real laugh that transformed her face and made her eyes crinkle at the corners, Mark felt something shift. Inside him, a door opening that had been closed for too long. As they walked back toward the office where their cars were parked, a light rain began to fall. Without thinking, Mark shrugged off his jacket and held it over Sophia's head. She looked up at him, surprise and something else flickering across her face. "You don't have to do that," she said, but made no move to step away. "I know." Their eyes met, and the air between them seemed to charge with unspoken possibilities. "This complicates things," Sophia said quietly. "You know that, right?" Mark nodded. "I know." He took a deep breath. "My brother dared me to ask you out. This morning. He's been pushing me to start dating again, and I told him I couldn't possibly ask my boss to dinner." Sophia's eyebrows rose. "So this wasn't your idea?" "The dare was his idea. But wanting to spend time with you? That's been mine for longer than I care to admit." The honesty felt both terrifying and liberating. She was quiet for a long moment, the rain pattering gently on his jacket above them. "There are rules against this, Mark. I'm your direct supervisor. I know that too. I could request a departmental transfer for you. Editorial is looking for a senior editor. It would be a promotion, actually." She spoke carefully, measuring each word. "If that were to happen, then technically, we wouldn't be breaking any rules." Mark's heart was racing now. Sophia's smile changed everything, slow and genuine, reaching her eyes and transforming her face. "I think I'd like to see Emma's art project sometime. The one on your refrigerator, she'd like that." She asks about the lady who picks the books all the time. Does she? Sophia laughs softly. And what do you tell her? That she's the smartest person I know, and that she has excellent taste in stories. Mark gathered his courage, and that her smile lights up the room, even though she doesn't show it often enough. They reach their cars, standing close under the small shelter of his jacket. I'll speak to HR tomorrow, Sophia said, about the transfer. And after that? Mark asked. After that, I think you should properly ask me to dinner, not because of a dare, but because you want to. I want to, he said immediately, making her laugh again. Good. She reached up, her hand warm against his cheek. 'Cause I'd say yes. 6 months later, Mark stood in his kitchen, watching as Sophia helped Emma with her science project. The transfer to senior editor had come with more responsibility and better hours, allowing him to be home for dinner most nights. Emma had been wary at first, protective of her father and the memory of her mother, but Sophia had approached their relationship with patience and respect, never trying to replace what was lost, but instead creating something new. His phone buzzed with a text from his brother. You're welcome, by the way. Best dare ever. Mark smiled, watching as Sophia explained the solar system to his daughter, her hands moving animatedly as Emma hung on every word. He thought about the small velvet box hidden in his desk drawer, waiting for the right moment. Some risks were worth taking, some lines worth crossing. Sometimes a dare could change everything. As Emma laughed at something Sophia said, Mark felt a completeness he hadn't experienced in years. Their story wasn't perfect. There were still difficult days, moments when grief resurfaced, challenges at work and at home, but it was real and it was theirs. And it had all started with a dare he almost didn't take, and a smile that changed everything. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more stories about love, courage, and the unexpected moments that change our lives forever. Sometimes the greatest risks lead to the greatest rewards, and sometimes happiness is waiting just on the other side of fear. What dare will you accept today?